RvL crushing it nice and easy, under an hour, taking care of Flashpoint in a flash just like that. Joined here by Ryan Aggro Bailey. How you doing?
Hey,
fantastic.
Look at that. It's Tom on the desk with me.
Yeah.
Doing well, man. That was a really good first game from RvL, and I'm excited to see what we can get from Revenge now, because if you just watch their interview, Dinosaur was saying that Revenge looked pretty good during their scrims, and if Flashpoint's been working with AstralAuthority and that's what they came up with, I don't know, may not be the NA advancing. I'm excited.
And might be interesting. Let's zoom out real quick and see where all the teams are landing. We just got through match number 1, which means, like we said, RvL will go ahead and continue. The winner of this will face them a little bit later. AstralAuthority, I think, is the team to beat. We had Esports Weekly earlier on this week, every Monday at 10 a.m. Make sure to tune in. And Revenge was not my team of choice. I think AstralAuthority have just looked really strong. You had Inbowned and Cyprexa there over the past couple of splits, and this team, I think, has come together to be the team that we've seen with Elbro Chacho once upon a time. Revenge, on the other hand, I'm not sold, honestly. I'm just not sold yet.
Not yet, but I will say that I do think this Revenge team is the best second-seeded European team we've ever seen come to LAN. And there have been a lot of teams that have struggled a lot coming from Europe in the second seed. RvL's historically been the only one to really give any sort of challenge to North American teams, and even them, it took them a long time to actually start winning against teams. I think this Revenge squad can make some noise if Astral isn't prepared.
Revenge, they're a good team. They're very relaxed. They're very relaxed. Let's take a look at what they had to say before game number 1, and we'll talk about it after.
All right, I'm here with Revenge, just about to head into their set up against Astral. And my first question, I mean, it's no secret that you all are considered the underdogs here. I mean, talk to me a little bit about y'all's mentality. Do you feel that same way? Do you feel strong heading into this matchup? Just sort of give me where the team's heads are at.
No, it's fine that people think of us that way, so they will like underestimate us, and we're just gonna prove them wrong.
Yeah, these games are gonna be easy too. Well, 100%.
Love the confidence.
Mine's confident.
YRNGino here. So you guys are the new bloods, right? We've seen other people at LAN. 4 to 5 you guys never been here. Y'all never been here. I'm gonna give you guys the floor. Introduce yourselves. What is your team about? Who are you guys?
Well, we're Team Revenge, repping the org. We're just a bunch of trolls, to be honest. We're just like chilling. We play scrims, we chill, and we just smack heads, to be honest.
Yeah, we just play to enjoy it, and
yeah, we all have fun. We all have lives outside this, but to be honest, this game's easy, like GG.
What he said.
Well, it sounds like y'all are definitely confident here going into this set. I mean, is there anything in particular that you all have done for Astral? I mean, it was very close with them up against RvL in spring. They might even be stronger now. Yeah. They got Cyprexa over on that roster. I mean, how are you all feeling, particularly going in this match up against Astral, since you don't get to practice against them that much?
Yeah, we did our homework, and yeah, we hope it goes in our favor, actually.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you guys bring a little bit of swagger to the console series. Good luck out there, guys.
Thank you.
Couple of things I want to hit on these guys. First of all, I need to call out my buddy Guan over here. The players said, you know, we're chill, we're regular guys, we got lives outside of this, really want to bring that out there. He named himself after a World of Warcraft character. Sorry, buddy, you're a nerd like the rest of us.
That's all right, though. He's out here playing Smite now. No need to blow up my mans. Tom, come on now.
He was trying so hard to be like, no, we're just cool dudes chilling. But I think that comment and Gino kind of deceived their original intent. These guys did do the homework. They're out here kind of flexing, saying, look, we're better than everybody. We're chilling. We're not really concerned. But I think that behind the scenes, Ryan, I think that there was definitely a lot of work that these guys have done. Even though you might not see it come out in conversation, I'm excited to see how they do on the battlefield.
Yeah, I think that this team has taken this preparation seriously, and that is so key when it comes to LAN, that you have to have a team that's dedicated to watching a ton of VODs, just like a ton of VODs. If I'm on Revenge, I'm watching literally every Astral game from this split.
Oh, yeah.
Every single one of them. I'm writing down all their picks and bans. I'm getting into their heads, trying to understand why they pick what they do, where they're going to pick it, how they're going to play with it, and what we can do to kind of go up against that. I'm also rewatching our VODs in that same sort of critical mindset, to try and say, this is what they are going to see, what are they thinking about, and how can we kind of defy those expectations.
And I love seeing this right here, especially for a team that hasn't been to LAN. Only one member of this team has been here, and you see these guys, first of all, just the jovial atmosphere. These guys are having fun, and that's the most important thing. Once you start getting frowny and getting over serious, you kind of lose your touch on the game, I think.
Yes, I think that for your first LAN experience, having someone on your team or having your whole team have that sort of, it's just Smite. We're going to chill, and even though you know it deep down that is so not the case, that is so different than anything else, you need to have someone to try and tell you it's going to be cool, not to worry too much. Doesn't matter if we lose here, like, it'll be fine. Life will go on. And even though there's obviously so much more at stake than that, you need that sort of layer of comfort. And I think that's what really worked against Flashpoint in that last game. I mean, you saw them. They were all business all the time. No fun at all. And I think that does make you a little bit more uptight and more prone to make mistakes.
Yeah, Gino coming from Amsterdam in the Yankee hat. I got a chance to talk to him afterwards. You know what? It wasn't even the Yankee hat. It was the white Air Force Ones that did it for me.
Okay.
That's the real New York swag. But I got a chance to talk to him after the interview, and he's like, look, man, we're comfortable, but we are definitely excited for this one. Layers of comfort on the side of Revenge, but layers of death on the side of AstralAuthority. We spoke to those guys a little bit earlier. Let's see what they had to say.
I got the dual lane here for AstralAuthority, Inbound, and Cyprexa. First off, coming into this tournament, I mean, it was really close to rival there towards the end, but you've had a great split here so far. How are y'all feeling coming to this tournament? Are you confident you're going to be able to get that revenge?
Yeah. We are way more confident this LAN coming in. Picking up Griff was just, like, big for me, because I have a lot more, lane dominance with him than I did with Covey. Covey was a mid laner, as you guys know, usually, and he didn't really fit the carry role. But now that I have Griff, we're definitely ready for rival.
Yeah, that was going to be my follow-up question. I want you to dive deeper. What's the duo lane? What's the real difference between working with Cyprexa versus Covey? And how does that affect the game at large?
Probably positioning. And I guess laning phase too. He's better at laning phase than Covey was too. But positioning is just way better. He knows exactly where to be and like how and where to hit his autos, where to step up, where to stay back, like where to drop his ult and like all that. As Covey as a mid laner didn't really know that as a hunter, so it was a little bit different. But yeah, he knows a lot better.
Well, just before we did this, y'all didn't get to see, Inbound was talking to him about, hey, don't have your hands on the table. So aside from just in-game, what kind of like LAN advice have you been able to give to your boys here, Inbound, with some of your experience?
LAN advice. I guess just like the studio rooms, how it's a little bit different than previous LANs. It's not really like Worlds LAN where you have like a huge audience in front of you. It's just like you with your boys at the table and you're just ready to play and you're just like sitting in your chair, just chilling. No shouting's happening. So it's just like, yeah, just like simple stuff like that.
Before we wrap it up, Cyprexa, I wanna hear from you. What are your thoughts on LAN, and you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Cyprexa's ready to go.
Yeah, he's ready to go. That's what I heard.
Honestly, I mean, the end of that one, he was like, yeah, I'm ready. He's excited. Just the generic response, but the generic response that you want to hear. No surprise there that Inbound stealing the time and the kills from his hunter. That's what we expect out of Inbound. But these Astral guys, I said it before, this is AstralAuthority when they were crushing it. Personally, kind of upsetting not to see Brochacho up here, but I think Inbound absolutely can fill his shoes, if not go the next level, and I think AA look just as good as they used to be.
They play very similar styles, Inbound and Brochacho. Both have that, what are you doing here sort of moments, and then the whole team, jumps out of the shadows and beats you up. And that's kind of what these two players are really known for. Inbound a little bit better on the mechanics, and that's why he's here, I think, than Brochacho at this point, and certainly has catalyzed this team, has been a huge leader. And this team's revitalization from spring where, yeah, they're good, but how good really are they? They'll struggle in the duo lane a lot. Now it really has opened up the map for Wolves to be more Wolves-like, for oBoronic to do oBoronic stuff. Layers doesn't have to worry about making his duo lane as safe all the time. This new AstralAuthority roster, it's night and day between spring and summer.
Revenge, a first pick overall. I mean, before we get into it, what are you expecting to see picked and banned here? Any flavor picks?
No, I think that in the early rounds, because this is a double elim tournament, you're kind of expecting a little bit more normal stuff early on. You don't want to show off too much. If you've got a pocket strategy that you've been working on for LAN, you're not showing it off here. Maybe Revenge will against AstralAuthority because they know that they are the underdogs. They're punching up. But Astral, I expect to go with the same sort of stuff they played all split long. I expect, Thoth or Giannis for oBoronic, You know, a lot of Terra for inbound, things of that nature.
Astral, I think, just making picks bans a little bit easier for Revenge here. Cyprexa has been the best Chernobog I've seen at a competitive level, full stop. Even comparing over to the PC side, I've just loved the Chernobog out of Cyprexa. I feel like every single replay we watch, he's on the Dark Guy. Not going to be the case here. Astral banning out the Giannis ban, standard, and then the Odin ban, standard if you're playing against Wolves.
Yep.
Athena, first pick overall. Not surprised outright, Ryan, but I think I expected to see a Thoth guy there.
No, I like this instead because Thoth isn't quite what you expect out of LingXiao. I'm looking for Poseidon. That is the pick that really stood out for me, for him in the mid lane. So you set that up with the Athena already. You hope Astral takes some things that do poorly against Poseidon here.
But does the Poseidon do well against the Thoth that I fully expect Astral to lock? Oh, the Raijin. All right. Never mind then. Poseidon does very well against Raijin.
Yeah, I think he's fine against Thoth as well. It's less about your 1v1 and that you're trying to just do so much via control in that early mid-game stage and then hand the ball off later on to the rest of your team. That I think that Poseidon is what I'm insta-locking here for Revenge. Not because it's the best pick in the world against Artemis Raijin, but because it goes well with Athena, and we know that LingXiao is comfortable on it. And when you have that first LAN experience, you expect to go to your bread and butters. You've got to stay inside your wheelhouse. You've got so many new outside factors. You don't want your composition to be one of them.
Love these picks out here for Revenge. Gino during the regular season looked fantastic on the Jing. We just mentioned the Poseidon, and I think both of these picks do well versus the Raijin. Jing a little bit more mobile and able to deal with the ultimate a little bit better than some of the other choices that don't have the movement. So Revenge, nice draft here for the first half. Athena, Poseidon, and Jing certainly no slouch.
I think that a Robin might be on the table here for Layers, something that can get him out of that taunt and Kraken combination pretty easily.
Yeah.
A lot of Assassins can struggle in that regard because they often always rely on that mobility. But Khepri, okay, so this is interesting from Inbound. This is very high risk, high reward because Khepri is a god that can really fall victim to getting taunted into Kraken over and over and over again because that res that he gives himself not going to be as good because it just sticks him in place and he's rezzing right back into a whirlpool right in the middle of the whole team. But if Inbound can stay way far back, let someone else get taunted, and then res them away, it'll be really, really good. But that's just not really Inbound's playstyle. He's always in the middle of things, and I don't know how much I like this pick.
I was just going to say that, and really it's Astral. I think this is, you do have to know who you're playing against, and I think this is Astral kind of seeing the other side of Bobby's playstyle versus a lower card. Make no bones about it. Astral probably think that they're better than Revenge here, and I think that's what they're seeing. They're seeing, all right, Bobby, we know how well you can play side A. How good is your side B? And against a lower-seeded team, but they're still LAN contenders. They are still LAN competitors. You know, where does this back style play land?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a little bit risky as Robin ban by Astral themselves. Interesting. I think that's one of the best picks on the table here for Layers.
I like the Daji ban. So I actually have not been very high on Daji lately, but I think Daji gets out of Poseidon and Athena very, very nicely with the ultimate, just removing herself from the entire conversation. Real quick, I think that's a nice ban coming out from Revenge.
I like that, and that Erlong Shen can flex into the jungle or be in the solo lane, so that's a pretty smart ban. Kuzenbo, a god that you don't really want to Athena taunt into Kraken, so don't want to give that to Wolves. But this does open the door for Hercules, Chulainn, something with a lot of pressure for Wolves. Okay, he's not going Loki here. No way.
With a Khepri?
No.
Save the Loki?
No. I don't think so.
I don't think so either, but I bring it up. I'm joking now, but I bring it up seriously. That is something you have to watch out for from the solo lane out of Astral. And the Kuzenbo ban is interesting because I think that speaks to Wolves in general. Is Wolves a Kuzenbo player like Delny? Absolutely not. But is Wolves an insert God here player? Absolutely.
Yeah, this dude's God pool is limitless. It's a God ocean for him. Kuang. Wow, okay. So Revenge going for a bit of spice now. And this does do well against the Khepri execute, remember. That's Scarab's blessing. Will not stop that execute from going through.
I love the Guang here. You've got Athena, Poseidon, and Guang going to be your magical, and then Jing and Chulainn going to be your physical. They could have went the Achilles. They could have went the Thanatos. Why do you think they go specifically the Guang execute?
you're looking for quick, guaranteed farm in the jungle with the Kuang and with Chulainn there to help pressure and also take a good pick away from AstralAuthority that would have been good against the Kuang because the rage form. You can kind of protect him a little bit. You also have the Athena ultimate to protect him should he get into some trouble. It is a bit risky if Layers just rushes a Crusher early on, gets a little bit of that extra damage on the end so that he can reveal Kuang from stealth after he uses Water Illusion. That's something that I think Revenge does need to watch out for.
Thor here, locked in, 4th pick, and I'm not convinced Astral knew where it was going to go. I think this was a
Layers
flex.
that's Layers all day. Layers has been a Thor player since day one. I don't think they're giving that to Wolves anytime soon.
Wolves has been playing it a little bit here and there. Going to opt for the Guan Yu. Love this choice. Going to help players avoid the execute threshold. Guan Yu is one of my favorite picks against executes because the heal is up so often and it will take you above that execute thresh. Kuang thinks he's going to go in for it, and it punishes Kuang so heavily, more so I think than the Achilles selection, because Kuang goes all the way in. There is no halfway. You full commit to the execute because you're going to fly away. But if you don't actually get it, then you're stuck in the middle of a bunch of clowns and you're in trouble.
I think Astral missed one of the best gods in the entire game that would have been open and phenomenal here, and that's Chang'e. Chang'e in this, if that's Chang'e solo, I don't know how Revenge wins this game because you just don't have the burst damage to take care of her. She get immune so much of that burst damage anyways. That immune would have been so good against Poseidon. The sustain still would have been there, just like it is from Guan Yu. You would have had even more CC than you get from the Guan Yu. I don't know. That's... If Astral lose this game, I think they're kicking themselves for not going Chang'e, but I still think they certainly can. This team composition is pretty solid. I just think that there is a bit of a concern for Revenge's team composition because Athena goes best when there's other beads burners on her side.
Absolutely.
She's not just getting beads every time. Kuang needs your beads to be down if he's getting that execute off. Those are really the only 2 gods I'm beadsing anything from. And so I think that Revenge might have gone a little bit too light on the CC with this comp to set up for an Kuang nicely.
There's this sort of like uncanny valley where there's a little bit of CC, and so you just don't buy beads, right? Athena's not that character. If Athena's the only, if it's Athena and 4 Kamazots, I'm buying beads to not get taunted, right? Like I'm still buying beads. So I think Revenge, if they didn't have the Athena, you might even just gamble and not go beads. But here, unfortunately, absolutely going to be buying that one. So yeah, I think Revenge they've got a strong draft, but there's definitely an Achilles heel, no pun intended, here, which is that beads.
Yeah, I think that there is. I mean, if you get the taunt off and there's no purification beads, their CC chain capability is very good. It's the Whirlpool, Slow Cripple, the knockup from Jing is excellent. Their in-lane sort of CC chain, but in the dual lane alone, is very strong. It's just that it's not the late game because in the late game, you'll have enough damage from Jing and Kuang that beads don't really affect them that much. I'm talking 20, 24 minutes in that mid-game area where you're really looking to get one coordinated burst onto someone, you have their beads be down, and then execute them very, very easily. That might not work out for Revenge.
And the problem is, you're talking about them kind of struggling in the mid-game. Look what Astral have prepared. Thor, Guan Yu, these are mid-game monsters.
Yeah.
And you toss Khepri in there who hits 4 at any point in the game, certainly going to impact it. Astral and Revenge, not quite easy to figure out on paper, but still going to ask y'all the question out there in Mixer chat. Who wins? Because I think this one, after game number 1, I think it will be very, very obvious. Because right now, I don't want to speak for you, but I think we're waiting for the litmus test of Revenge.
Yeah.
Who are we seeing at LAN? Because LAN to regular season can be a completely different team.
Very much so, and that's why they're going to really rely on Gnome, I think, with that Chulainn selection. Get him something with pressure, get him a little bit of a momentum, because he's the lone guy who has LAN experience here. Believe their jungler, Mango, did compete last year under a different name, so a little bit of LAN experience there, but Gnome is kind of the old guard here for Revenge that can strew some of his previous experiences and kind of gift them to his team to try and make them comfortable. Though, as we saw earlier on, they look pretty comfortable already. Will they still be comfortable whenever they get Thor dunked into, whatever nonsense from Boronic's Raijin all at the same time and fall in an early hole? If that happens, I'm looking for how Revenge will respond.
Yeah, I mean, you sort of alluded to it earlier where Cyprexa's addition to the team made it so that there really wasn't any divot in this squad. Wolves, at one point in time was just the best player on Xbox. I think other people have caught up a little bit, but he is still arguably one of the strongest solo laners.
Yep.
Layers, whatever name he's playing under, is just incredibly difficult to deal with. Boronic, for my money, is the best mid lane. I mean, this team is just stacked. I think everybody's playing for the Warriors next year. It's ridiculous. So Revenge, as they're playing as sort of the rookies here, I mean, how do you... I'm going to do the same thing I did at Tolly. Put your jersey back on. You're a player.
Sure.
You're on Revenge, and you're going up against the titans of the scene. Where's your head at?
I'm trying to hit them in the mouth early because they think they're coming into an easy game here, most likely against the underdog, the second-seeded European team who has never really done anything at a competitive level outside of sending Myth Gaming to Worlds last year. But that was what felt like a 1 in a million sort of shot from that team. I think that I'm looking to put pressure on a Boronic and Layers specifically because both of these guys can have bad games in two totally different ways. Layers can go on tilt. You can get him. You can get in his head. You can kind of put him in a bad spot. Boronic is a very rhythm player, very much momentum based, and doesn't necessarily tilt, I don't think. But his confidence comes and goes, and when his confidence is high, he's better than you, and he knows it, and he plays very aggressively. But Boronic has a lot of really quiet games these days where he doesn't really do anything because he's not playing with that "I'm better than you" mentality all the time. So I'm trying to make them question: are we really that much better than them in the first 12 to 15 minutes? Because if you let them get to 35 and it's kind of been a chill fest, they are probably going to beat you just based on experience.
Boronic has been, I think, my one of my favorite players to grow throughout the scene. He started out, look, I'm not going to play. He was not my favorite player when he first jumped in the scene. Very timid was the word I used a lot on broadcast. Just afraid to get his hands dirty. Was always like 1, 0, and 3 with 27 kills for the team. Just wasn't getting involved. Every time I see him come out, Ryan, I see him put more of himself on the battlefield, and that confidence is what I see. And I think Boronic has come from being a young, timid player to now, I mean, the focal point of Astral in at least half of their games.
Certainly. It has those incredible games where he's just killing everyone with whatever pick he's playing, and it never looks like he's going to slow down. But I still think that during the summer split, you can go back and look at a ton of games, and during the spring split as well, where he's not doing poorly. He's just not doing anything. You know, he's not really doing a whole lot. And I think that that's where Inbowned comes in, to be that vocal leader, like, yo, Boronic, you're still literally better than everyone. Like, you have to know that. And that's a huge voice to have in comms. I mean, anytime you miss an ultimate, obviously the first thing you're going to think is like, man, I can't believe I missed that. I messed it up. And the best thing that you can hear after that is, it's all right, you're way better than them. Like, that at least for me, when I was playing, was always a big thing of, you know, oh, I missed this. Don't worry about it. We'll get him next time. And then as soon as you do make that next play, you got to have that guy who's going to amp you up. Oh, you're sick. You know, you're the best. That kind of stuff. That is so good for a team environment. And Inbound fits that role really, really well.
Yeah, without a doubt. Certainly a player coach, if you will, from the similar to the likes of, I've mentioned Brochacho, and Polar Bear Mike comes to mind as well. Just these guys that play with both their keyboards and their mouthpieces, right? Just really important to be part of the squad. Players getting into game right now. We're going to be there in a couple of minutes, hopefully. Just bear with us. Revenge here, the underdogs. Very few players have been to LAN. Astral, on the other hand, they've been here time and time again. I mean, at this point, I feel like I'm family friends with Boronic. He's been here so often.
Except for Cyprexa. He is the one that it's like, well, how good is he going to be on LAN? Now, under Griffin Slays, he played last year in the SCL. Also, this year has had a really, really good performance so far. And they first pick him the Artemis right away. So they're really putting a lot of trust in this guy to have a good LAN performance right off the bat.
And like I said, we spoke to him at the end of that interview, and he said that he actually got a chance to play on LAN here, practicing scrims with the squad. So he's used to the ping already, he said. He really likes it, and just being able to sit here with the guys was really, really big for him. And it was funny. I could tell that he wanted to say more, but he was just really amped, I think. Again, I think it comes back to Bobby. I think it's just being here with the squad, hanging out in the hotel room before game, after game. I think that's a really, really big deal, especially for a team with a dynamic like Astral.
This is, look, your first LAN experience, you never forget it. I mean, it's so you have all these expectations. You know, you hear all about it. It's so different from online play. And then you get there and you get the nerves on the loading screen when you're picking your gods.
Adrenaline.
All that kind of stuff. You definitely get that adrenaline flowing, and you need to have that settle down on your walk to lane, basically. That needs to happen in order to kind of get yourself in the right spot mentally. I mean, you have to understand that you've played Smite 100,000 times. You played Artemis, Khepri together a bunch of times. This is nothing that different. A couple different things, but it's nothing than a different playlist that's going on behind you. You know what I mean? That's the sort of mentality you have to have at LAN. And then you look back and go, wow, that was really different. Like that felt completely different from how it does online. So you got to have that voice in your head to say, we're cool. It's still the same thing. You've been playing this forever. You're going to do okay.
I mean, look, I'm not a player for a reason. But I mean, even we sometimes stream from the office or whatnot.
Sure.
I mean, I've got my keyboard, I've got my mouse. Everything's different, right?
Yeah.
You still bring your stuff, but the height, every little bit. Players adjusting to it. Players still adjusting to it. We're gonna bring you game number 1 very, very soon. We'll be right back with with Revenge versus Astral. Welcome back. Here we are, Tom and Ryan. But just briefly, we've got the game ready to go. Very excited to jump into it.
Let's get into it. I mean, we had the delay. It's time for these players to get it going, right? I mean, this is some of those moments that you have to stay focused. It's tough during these sorts of delays, the tech issues or whatever. You have to try and stay mentally in it and be ready to play as soon as they tell you can go.
Yeah, so we've got everybody waiting by, and the commentators Finch and Toley are going to be taking us for a ride. Let's go!
Well, it is time to get into game. It is Finch and Toley here, Revenge up against Astral. And we are finally into the action here, Toley. And you heard Ryan alluding to it. You got to make sure that you're staying mentally ready for this game. Revenge are the underdogs here. So not only do they have to go into that pressure, but they got to be ready to play at any moment.
Look at their builds already off the bat between this magical jungler and mid laner. Going for the ring build, trying to get off that mobility and a little bit of extra power. But on the other side, an interesting thing to note, Cyprexa going for the Guardian's Blessing alongside his Guardian.
Yeah, things are looking interesting all across the board here, I would certainly say. Perhaps early Shaman Rings is going to be the idea here from Revenge on their mid-jungle, and then the Guardian's Blessing coming out from Cyprexa. I got to think Hunter's Blessing is just almost certainly better, and you certainly don't want 2 stacked on top of each other, but, hey, it'll be a little harder to kill.
Normally, the only time you'll ever see a Guardian's Blessing not in the true support role is in the solo lane when you know you're going to get out-pressured and cleared anyway, that your lane is constantly being pushed under your tower. So at that point, you just pick up the Guardian's Blessing and at least get some of that extra gold every 5 seconds as the game progresses.
Well, they're going to have the lane pressure pretty clearly. It looked like Guan as well as Gino sort of recognize they're not going to be able to contest up against the Khepri Artemis. They go right over to the red buff to start things off totally. It does mean that Inbound and Cyprexa should be able to move back towards purple and grab that, but look at these poll results. I'm a little surprised it's this close. 58% Astral, 42% in Revenge. Chad's expecting a close match here, and I'm not saying that I don't expect Revenge to put up a good win, but Astral have looked very strong. Certainly one of the favorites.
Historically, Astral have more LAN experience, more LAN victories. Wolves, specifically alongside Layers in Season 4, were dominating, minus the hi-rez Expo, obviously.
Up until then, they were just dominating, yeah.
So, just historically and based off the players, you would think AstralAuthority should have a huge advantage.
Well, this could be a very early first blood here. Can't quite keep up with the Kuang. Layers of Death, Chaotic Purpose, however you know them. Already having a good game is not only LingXiao, but Reform Mango as well, taking a little bit extra poke in the jungle. Is going to rejoin them here in the middle lane. But as you said, Toley, this Astral roster has a ton of not just experience, but quality experience. Inbound, a world champion, Wolves and Layers, of course, have both been dominant at stretches throughout the SCL lifetime. I mean, this is a very stacked roster.
I mean, just look at the way Layers played that. He didn't chase the kill. That's a sign of a veteran experience.
Even backstep title surge, I believe, on the way back, yeah.
Making sure that he min-maxes his mobility and whatever he's going to get. He's prioritizing the farming this early, even though he probably could have chased that with another hammer, another Berserker's Barrage eventually for the first blood. Recognize that the timing wasn't really in his favor. He'd rather establish mid-pressure to start controlling some of these middle harpies, which eventually adds up because now your back camps are available for your side lanes to control for themselves.
And it's enough of a win just to force resources out from your opponent, right? Get them to use some of their pots when they weren't expecting to try and re-sustain back up, or force them to play a little bit more defensively. It is going to mean, though, that Revenge are able to come grab these oracles without any real trouble.
But as we said, Layers and Boronic have kind of been free to move wherever they want to around the map. Already level 4 for the mid lane Boronic.
Looking good for the mid lane of Astral, but not so much in the dual lane, with the Oracles now going the way of revenge. They're able to get that vision for a little bit longer, and this double Guardian's Blessing for AstralAuthority not really showing its aggressive side, considering that they probably knew that Revenge was going into this with an aggressive composition. The Jing Athena, very annoying to deal with in the laning phase, especially with the build from Gino. Going for the Ninja Tabe, already having full mobility that you really want at this part of the game.
Yeah, that's scary. Foregoing early stacking, at least for now, while he grabs those boots. He's almost certainly going to be grabbing those Devourer Gauntlets later on, but he wants, as you said, that extra movement speed in particular to try and be aggressive. And I mean, when you get locked down by the Athena taunt into the knock-up coming out from the Jingwei as well, I mean, that can be enough just by itself to get a nice early kill. And they're trying to build into that early on.
And that's true, because once you do get taunted into the knock-up, you're still moving forward. The trajectory of the knock-up is going to be pulling you towards no man's land, so you don't want to deal with that. But I like the fact that Gino does go for a Ninja Tabe. It used to have a place in the meta where certain players would pick that item up right away, trying to utilize that passive a little bit better. Because even if you get poked out, you're going to go back to base, pick up 2 health potions. You're not going to miss out on farm realistically, so you might as well pick up this item early so that your basic attacks just dealing more significant damage than the opposition.
Similar idea from Cyprexa here, though. He's already got the Warrior tab I picked up for himself. So, again, foregoing the stacking to a little bit later on in the build path. The only difference, of course, is that Cyprexa has gone with a Blessing to get things started off as opposed to Gino. So a little bit slower to hit some of those power spikes, but it does mean that they are going to be a little bit more capable to box early on here in this lane if that's what they want to look for.
I like the fact that Wolves is not allowing Gnome to back as soon as he wants. Any sort of little difference you can make between your own teleports, it gives you that much of an advantage. Now, difference is going to be about 35 to 40 seconds, probably like 35 seconds, and that's a wave and then a little bit of change for you to be able to still go back to base, maybe proxy one wave in between, knowing that that next wave is when his teleport is coming up.
And this is really important, Tully, because in the last set we just saw how important that solo lane pressure could be, right? Once Predators got ahead and he was able to start rotating not just to fights, but just stripping away jungle buffs, you know, just being a nuisance relatively early on really was part of what got Rival looking so dominant. And now Wolves, largely considered one of the best players, not just the best solo laner, one of the best players in the world, is already off to a very comfortable start here on this Guan Yu. So that could spell some problems for Revenge.
Which is impressive, considering he is the Guan Yu. Normally Guan Yus get out-pressured in the early laning phase, but because of some of the changes to Guan Yu, having his third basic attack, providing that AoE damage now to help clear the wave, makes it so much easier. And also benefiting Wolves on the Guan Yu is that he last picked this pick.
Well, already the Kraken is going to come out inbound, brought down to about half HP, but should be fine. The Boar, it looks like, ends up getting dropped by Cyprexa as well. They are forced back towards their tier 1 tower. No relics used, just a couple ults. And Layers, he smells blood in the water. He wants to come dunk it in. Target initially is going to be Gino. Great job chaining together CC, but able to dash away. Taunt pulls him back in, but now Mango's here, and he's got damage to spare.
He's got a lot of damage, but he didn't beat the pull initially, uses the execute, but he's not in the threshold. First blood going for the Raijin.
Taiko Drums comes up big, and he's not done yet. Double kill for Boronic, rotating over on the Raijin, bringing down the hammer in the duo lane, gets Astral off to a huge start with that Bancross rush.
Mango really saw blood in his eyes, wanted to go for that kill, realizing that Layers, he had to use his beads to prevent that initial knock-up or taunt out of Revenge, and without those beads, the execute was free. But having to overcommit the one slight abduct for Inbound, even though it was beads like maybe half a second after the fact, that small separation was just enough to not allow Layers to get executed.
But remember how that fight started off as well. LingXiaoWho commits the Kraken onto Bobby like very early on in that engagement. I was a little curious about it, and I got to imagine if that Kraken is available a little bit later on, yes, Inbound won't be nearly as low, but I mean, that could have been enough to stop Boronic from having the impact he had, or even potentially punish Layers when he dunks in too.
This time trying to make a play on the opposite side. Wolves doesn't have his ultimate, but neither does Mango.
Yeah, without the execute available, Mango not going to have much opportunity for a kill. Just try and get things slowed down as Layers rotates over to join the fray. He's just going to drop the blue buff, but he had a great impact too. The call to engage, and he drops right on top of Gino and tries to slow him down very early on in that fight from Layers was really what sort of helped keep that ball rolling for them duo and set up for oBoronic.
And Layers is just known for his Thor play consistently. He
Yes.
lands right on top of Gino perfectly. He gets his combo off, but Gino, still having his agility, was able to separate that gap, which allowed him to survive for a little bit longer, but the rest of Astral Authority's rotations were just a little more fruitful. That ultimate not being available from the Kraken, used on a level 7, I think it was, Khepri, that already had reinforced shoes, that had his passive fully stacked up to give him that extra like little bubble of health, doesn't allow the damage from such an early game Poseidon to be impactful at all.
No, he was not able to have the impact he was looking for, and Inbound survives. I don't even believe he had to use the Scarab's Blessing there. Really was not under much pressure. As Mango takes a big chunk of his HP, he'll have to fall back here in the jungle. But that's the kind of fight I feel like Astral are happy to take. The fights where they're the ones sort of re-initiating or counter-initiating, especially around Layers on this Thor, and then oBoronic to follow up. And especially because the initial wave is not likely to be successful from Revenge with the Scarab's Blessing available as well. That's the kind of fight I feel like Astral going to be comfortable to take all game long.
You have to keep a lot of things in mind when you're dealing with Astral Authority. Just not just Bobby alone. You got to keep in mind of when the Gold Fury is going to be started, because Revenge caught slipping nowhere nearby.
LingXiao's here though. Kraken is available. Flick for the steal. He's just going to drop the Whirlpool. Taiko drums used from oBoronic. Even though it took them a while to get there, Astral didn't have the burst they thought they did, and just the presence enough to force Astral back. They cannot grab the Gold Fury.
Using the Taiko drums, trying to secure it with a little bit of the taunt / fear combination out of oBoronic. Not really enough to secure it. The rest of Astral a little too worried about that Kraken, and for a good reason. Even level 8 Poseidon with 1 rank in that ability is enough burst damage to realistically steal this on the opposite side of Astral, where they have a bunch of damage from Taiko drums, but it's spread out over 4 shots.
Right. It was probably going to be too much to try and keep it from being in their favor. I mean, that would have been essentially a 50-50, if not even slightly in Revenge's favor, once Taiko drums had been committed and they were forced to reset afterwards. So Astral Authority do fall back, but I like Toli that they're looking early on for these objectives. I mean, we weren't even at the 10-minute mark, and they were just trying to see if they could steal one away, but Revenge eventually did recognize what was going down.
So with the solo lane, a little bit of action here between Gnome and Wolves. This is where Guan really starts to pop off once his conviction gets a little bit better, and some more cooldown reduction with the Breastplate of Valor gets completed.
Oh, that's exactly what Wolves is looking to try and get finished off here at this point. He's got those heals. He's got that Tallow Assault all ready to go. He's going to for sure be swinging here up against the Chulainn, who already had to back.
He already has enough to back off. He has 2,000 gold. He could easily complete the Breastplate of Valor, but Wolves' mindset now is like, oh, okay, Gnome backed first. Let me go ahead and use this opportunity to clear the wave, pick up Breastplate of Valor, get a little bit of extra gold, like around 135, to maybe pick up a Sentry Ward, some extra potions, start a tier 1 version of a Pestilence more than likely, and then walk back to base, not having to use the teleport.
Yeah, I think he was definitely keeping the teleport timer of Gnome in mind there as he falls back, just to make sure that he could try and punish that the most he could by getting a wave underneath the tower. As Layers has been great with these hammers all game long. LingXiao has got to fall back. Mango goes forward, doesn't catch the percussive storms. That trade ends up working, but LingXiao, he's feeling the pain a little bit.
A little semi-rotation from Gnome in case something popped off. Good presence of mind to make that half rotation occur, but it allows a proxy farm from Wolves between the tier 1 and the tier 2. This Guan Yu, already 1 level ahead of Gnome with his second relic of the shell, can start making some team fights happen. Conviction is maxed out.
He certainly could, and that's what I was alluding to a little bit earlier when I was talking about Predators. Once the rotation from these solo laners comes out, especially if they've been able to farm rather comfortably, that could be a big turning point in the matches. It looks like for now, Wolves is going to stick around on his side of the map. It's going to be Oboronic and Inbound that are partnered up together. The last time they tried to force a fight around that Gold Fury, it didn't quite work. They ended up having to fall back. They might be a little gun-shy.
At least they're trying, and that's one thing that Astral has above Revenge is their ability to execute these kinds of plays in a LAN environment, really calculating every little small situation. And they did have about a 10 to maybe 15-second window to do the Gold Fury, but they were just too low level to get the real burst damage they wanted.
LingXiao a little bit in trouble. Does drop the Kraken, but Taiko Drum's gonna be a better answer. Drum solo just too loud. Two-man taunt's good, but the stun from Layers keeps them from following up. 3 members go down right away. AstralAuthority respond in a big way, and now might even be trouble for Gino, who's just looking for oracles. They do force him back. Gold Fury is on the table.
And without a Kraken to worry about, this Gold Fury is free for AstralAuthority, getting a quick 3 picks, not having to worry about LingXiao. Also Gnome on the right side, heavily poked out. Could even be a solo kill potential for Wolves if Gnome's not careful.
He does need to be careful. Wolves is going to be playing aggressive. He does now have tower aggro as Gold Fury goes over to Astral without any real trouble. Gold Fury is free in the same way your 10th sandwich is free. They certainly put in the work initially and are able to finally get that payoff on the back end, but Gnome realizes he can't stick around here any further. He falls back. It's trouble across the map for Revenge as AstralAuthority up 5-0 and nearly 5,000 gold.
And normally, when you look at a North American team versus a Europe, whether it's Smite Pro League or the console side, Europe is very good about kind of delaying the early game to try to extend it beyond and get their advantages in the late game. But AstralAuthority on a different level, trying to make the early plays happen. And speaking of plays, Mango making a rotation in the solo lane, forcing the defensive ulti out of Wolves.
Still has that ulti available, so in the end he is going to be safe. It's nice, though, to get that tool forced out from Wolves, trying to make him a little bit less viable. And in the end, he will have to fall back. But look at Mango, speaking of him making this rotation. I thought initially he might be trying to look for that early Shaman's Ring, which is what we do see LingXiao go into. It's going to help out with his damage considerably. But not going to be the call here from Mango on the outcall.
No, it's going to be the Telekind. No, sorry, not the Telekind's Ring. I thought it would be the Demonic Grip. Originally, I thought that would be like kind of the play. But
right, to try and get some of that extra.
Yeah, but Shaman's Ring would be a little bit better for him, considering that it also gives you the movement speed that you really want, trying to make a plays happen. But instead, not going to be the case there, trying to go for something else.
Is getting pulled here instead, and there's no one from Revenge who's around to try and do anything about it, try and defend for them. So in the end, this goes the way of AstralAuthority. The response is going to be on the duo side of the map, though. Airstrike comes out, does have Defender of Olympus channel on top. Cyprexa is going to be the one that ends up paying for it. Aegis keeps him alive for a moment, but he's dead to rights.
Oh, the trap!
Mango gets the kill, but he'll fall in return.
The trap in response. Mango was not able to get the execute off. He was still in the purification cleanse state.
But Layers up in the air. Gino gonna be the target. Looks like Aegis comes out to try to immune the damage. Hammer swings right on through. A great taunt from Zhen is going to keep him alive for the moment, but now the Aegis of his own comes out from Layers. Gino in a whole heap of trouble. Layers puts in the last bit of damage, and he's not done chasing yet.
Now Layers wants more. He's not satisfied with only 2 picks, trying to abuse the Athena. Here comes Wolves on the cavalry charge.
He's going to use the hammer to get closer. Wolves comes in to finish that kill off. 8 in total for AstralAuthority, and the only one they've given up is Cyprexa to a 3-man dive underneath his tier 1 tower, and he gets a return kill out of it. AstralAuthority looking very comfortable here. 5,300 gold, almost 6,000 experience as well.
That's the best case scenario that you would possibly want out of your own hunter, being able to survive for as long as possible, for at least to allow a cleanup, but then you get a return kill because they accidentally walked over your own trap. And keep in mind, I'm pretty sure Mango still had the purification beads up if he really wanted to get out of that. But I guess he realized he was clearly dead because he misplayed by using his execute a little too early. If he had executed maybe half a second later, he takes the Artemis into the sky, gains some health, gains a stack of his passive to get that extra magical power, extra magical lifesteal, and then starts making the late game presence that an Kuang is known for.
Yeah, unfortunately, he does end up taking the spill. And remember, that play was sort of set up because Astro went for the Pyromancer. I believe 4 members committed onto that objective. So Revenge respond by going to aggress in duo. But Cyprexa does such a great job. He gets time for everyone to rotate from that neutral objective way on the Fire Giant side of the map to come over and get some return kills. That's all you can ask for from your hunter in that play or in that position. An excellent job from Cyprexa. Astral now comfortably in control, and Wolves continuing to bully out Gnome in the solo lane.
There's nothing Gnome can do. This tower is way too low. Wolves has too much physical defense, not only for Gnome's damage, but the tier 1 tower. Physical defense being shared between those 2 damage outputs, and then also having just so much sustain between this conviction and then the cooldown reduction on top of the breastplate of valor. Wolves is the sustaining god at this point in the game.
He's obnoxious at this point right now. Already has 4,900 healing to his name for Wolves. We'll see more of that. Gen looks like it's considering going in aggressively. Inbound not going to be able to land the grab. Instead, they're going to drop down the board. This could be death. The Kraken is going to come out, but not enough to save him. oBoronic has too much damage. LingXiao in a little bit of trouble as well. Does avoid the hammer before Mango throws out some damage, but the damage from Astral has already been done.
Astral are in bully mode between the tier 1 and the tier 2. Diving in is Wolves with a cavalry charge, really zoning away this Poseidon. Gets the pick, 5-on-3 remaining for Astral.
Before Mango really is tickling at this point as Gnome gets chunked by the damage from oBoronic. The Raijin coming up big for him, 4-0-3 already. Spear of the Magus making things even worse. They are grouped up like they want to force down this tier 1. Wolves taking the tower for now, but they didn't take the opportunity to look for shots. Mango cannot defend this tier 1, and it will come crumbling down.
With this kind of advantage and sustain, Astral going to continue to group up S5, utilize this crazy goal lead, honestly. 7,000 in 18 minutes is very impressive, and it's only going to get higher if Astral can confirm their second goal theory of the game.
Well, Gino does have airstrike. He does have the explosive bolts, but they hold, they force him away, and they secure the goal fury easy as that. Revenge struggling to try and find any way back into this game, and totally, I mean, where did this get away from them so early on? I mean, yes, Wolves have been bullying Gnome, but I mean, I feel like these mid laners have really been the big difference.
It definitely has. Boronic's first rotation granted him a hot double kill, and with the failed return kill from Mango where he tried to go into layers, that cost him a little bit of separation in the gold department, and this kind of a build from Mango between the Telekine's and Bancroft's talent not proving to be too fruitful, because yes, you get the 10% movement speed from this ring, but it's just not enough burst damage that you really want. Normally a lot of assassin mages will go for like the Soul Reaver, trying to get people a little bit more low, and for an Kuang player, the whole name of the game is to burst people down to get them a little closer to execute.
Has not been the case here so far for Reform Mango. The struggles have been many for this Revenge squad. Pyromancer now being looked at by AstralAuthority. No, they might be moving right over to Fire. At the very least, it appears to be a bait. Gen is the one that's going to be the target that takes that bait. Kraken hits 2 members, but Layers in the backside, keeping LingXiao busy and sending him back to the grave. Cyprexa finds one of his own. Tycho Drums removes Gnome from the map. A double kill for the jungler for AstralAuthority, and they want Fire Giant. Gino nowhere to be found.
Revenge trying to stop the original Fire Giant attempt, not stopping it this time around. 14-1, 20 minutes into the game. AstralAuthority confirm their first Fire Giant, while Gino can only do what he can is split push, because his presence in that team fight would not have made the difference.
And remember, these two teams are fighting for the right to go face a rival who looked very clean in their own right earlier today. And right now, if you're wearing purple, if you're the Reaper, you got to be a little bit worried at least about this Astral squad. They look very clean right now. Now, this set is not over. This game is not over, but Astral have been dominant from minute 1, up 11,000 gold, up 14-1 in the kill department as well. Experience is 11,000. Revenge having a tough time fighting back.
It's not just the experience in-game, Finch, it's the experience that they have out of game that's really starting to show that Revenge are just not in the same stack currently of AstralAuthority, and I think that this is going to be a learning experience for Revenge, as they're going to have to, if they lose this set rather, that they're going to have to go through the lower bracket and try to make improvements.
Let's kind of give some credit over there to Inbound as well here as part of what Astral have done so well. 0-13. It doesn't get much better than that for your support slash line. Been a part of nearly every kill so far, providing those auras for the team, those long-range roots, the pulls as well, to make sure that they don't have any trouble landing their shots.
And the thing was, with the draft from Astral, I was surprised that they picked the Khepri so early.
It was early.
Considering
I think
it was right before secondary ban phase. There were 3 executes available: Kuang, Thanatos, and Achilles. None of them were banned.
Yep.
Kuang was the selection for one of the executes, but the Guan last pick, perfect counter pick to really prevent any sort of momentum that Mango was looking for.
And like you pointed out earlier, the real problem came from early on when oBoronic was able to rotate over to duo and just get some early kills really for this Astral squad. It kind of skyrocketed him out in front of LingXiao, who's been struggling ever since. Now with the tier 2 falling in duo, they already grabbed the tier 2 in solo. They could be looking for a Phoenix, but they want to grab this tier 2 here in mid first.
Boronic's rotation was a little better, considering that LingXiao tried to make a Kraken play happen onto Inbound.
That's right,
had Scarce Blessing available, had Reinforced Shoes for a lot of protections, and that Khepri passive stacking up his shield allowed him to survive that initial burst damage. And without having to worry about the Kraken, that was a free double kill, honestly, from oBoronic without all the return fire.
Able to go and aggressive and put Astral down the right path, and they have not turned back since. Remember, Cyprexa went for this Rage third item, so that's already stacked, giving him a ton of extra crit chance. I believe 40% just from that one item, Executioner and Kin Size to follow up totally. So he's certainly going to be swinging here on this Artemis. It's just a whole list of problems that Revenge have to worry about, and Astral continue to try and make them do that math.
Now trying to go for Titan's Bane to abuse some of the frontliners. Not too much physical defense out of Revenge, considering that they're so far behind in the gold department.
Yeah, they haven't had a chance to build anything.
15,000. Like, that's a whole tier 3 version, like a luxury tier 3 item difference between these two teams per player.
Yeah, and we're seeing it happen here in effect. Cyprexa is almost done with the Titan's Bane either. He's already got the tier 2 built up. Meanwhile, Gino only sitting on 4 items. And remember, this is with Cyprexa and Inbound starting off with the interesting double Guardian start. Those have already been foregone. Pythagorean's Piece now, it looks like, coming out for Inbound for a little bit of that extra power, as well as Cyprexa used that cell to try and get him a little further along in his build, too.
It's a great utility item for trying to get the lifesteal going. It's the name of Sustain, trying to avoid the executes. Wolves comes into mind, but now you're adding Pythagorean's Piece. Sometimes some supports will pick up Rod of Asclepius simply for that aura as well, amplifying some damage and some extra healing for other players, but Pythagoreans does the same thing, just a little bit differently.
Did you see Hindu walk by just now and send us that heart?
That's not...
Is he trying to pretend he's not a savage?
No, that was his evil twin.
He's trying to pretend right now that he's not the savage guy, but that's how we know you, Hindu man. We talk to you outside of work. We know that you never turn it off. Always the savage.
It's what he's known for.
It is. That's how people know.
That's his thing.
Inbound, considering going with another option here, it looks like, okay, it's going to be the Shogun's Kusari. I was just going to, like, laud him for being so aura-focused, and that is going to be how he continues. And the Pythagoreans increasing that power and lifesteal for some of his squad, as well as the Shoguns for their extra attack speed. AstralAuthority, if they weren't swinging before, they sure will be now.
Wolves setting up a little trap for the Jing wave, but
Gino.
the knock-up, needing to use the airstrike before the stun, but Gino having to use the bead should have just straight up committed.
Being a little bit too patient there, ends up having his very important relic forced out. AstralAuthority are going to fall back towards the Fire Giant, which should be respawning here in just a few seconds. Again, it comes crashing meteorically back into the earth now, and Astral happy to grab that and then come in and push. They've grabbed all the tier 2 towers off the map. It's only Phoenix.
It's so unfortunate, Finch, because this Fire Giant spawned at 24 minutes and 59 seconds.
Oh, no.
Just a second too short for the enhanced version of this Fire Giant. You need to be able to take out the first one and then have the second Fire Giant spawn after 25 minutes to go from 20% extra structure damage all the way to 30.
Totally. I've been saying for a while now that when the Fire Giant crashes in, it should be sort of like Apophis from Clash. It should really, like, send down a big wave of damage inside the Fire Giant.
Just punish people?
Yeah, like, for being there on time and knowing their timers. Punish them. It's just fun, right? You can throw someone in there, maybe they'll die.
You can't punish responsible people for knowing the timers.
But you can play around and throw someone into the pit, right? Like you could charge prey, pluck them back in.
We're in Conquest, Finch. We're not in Clash, okay? I could barely pronounce that boss's name.
I'm not doing so well either. Apophis? Something like that?
I always say hypothesis.
I got a hypothesis here. LingXiao is in some trouble. Beads and Aegis have both been forced down. That is just Wolves by himself. No further duress coming. Reform Mango is zooming along the map here at this point, trying to catch up with the Wolves, but he's undeterred. Nice wall comes down. Reform Mango deleted by the damage from Layers. Whoa!
Mango did not respect that damage, held onto his beads way too long. As soon as he gets done from Thor, just beats it right away if you don't have some sort of cleanse.
Well, Anvil of Dawn's going to come in as well. LingXiao does find one kill, but they make him pay mightily for it. The wall is used to cut off the escape path. Another double kill comes in for Cyprexa as well as Layers. Full-blown deicide. AstralAuthority in game 1 look dominant as they move in to take the victory.
Very clean. 19-2, 27 minutes into the game. A little bit slower than Rival's first game up against Flashpoint, but still making a statement in the very first game of the set.
Yeah, the 26 minutes, 50 seconds, and they look to be in control the entire time for me there, Tully. We keep coming back to that great early rotation that we saw coming out from the mid lane for him from oBoronic on the Raijin, and was able to get a great kill there. But it did not stop for them. I mean, Wolves dominated the solo lane for them. Layers was a force out of the jungle as well on that Thor. I mean, it feels like all 5 roles really just kind of outclassed on the other side.
I mean, but look how just the emotions already from AstralAuthority. They look like they almost lost off that game. Like, they're so focused on the next game already.
Yeah.
They're thinking about picks and bans. They're thinking about what went right and how we can continue this moving forward. Honestly, I think they're even potentially thinking about rival more than they are against this team.
We do see a couple smiles, I think, coming out of the back end. But you're right, totally. I mean, this Astral roster has really high expectations for themselves, aside from just, you know, this first set here. I mean, I talked to Inbowned. I'm like, well, I think he asked me, Finch, when are you going to be casting me? And I said, well, I'm doing a lot of the upper bracket casting. And he goes, well, that's where I'll be. I'll be in the upper bracket. And, you know, they are so confident. They know that that's where they're going to be throughout the tournament. And they're expecting this from themselves.
Well, what do you think? Do you think Bobby was the MVP?
It's hard to say on that game. Maybe we can ask Mixer Chat, get them to vote for who they think is going to be the MVP. Bobby certainly could make a case there for it, but I mean, I don't think you had a problem voting for KP, Layers, whatever he's calling himself right now, or oBoronic there in the mid lane either.
My personal vote's got to be oBoronic. That early double kill, making
important.
It happen.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, totally. That really was what kind of facilitated for the rest of the squad. We'll go ahead and get it back over to the analysts and have them break down what they saw.
Tom and Ryan here breaking this one down, and well, I think we've got a work cut out for us because this one looked easy, but how did they get there is the question. AstralAuthority taking game number 1 over Revenge from Europe. Very interesting game.
I mean, I talked about it coming into this. What would I want to do as Revenge? Get an early lead, try and play aggressive, get oBoronic and Layers in particular on the back foot. So what do oBoronic and Layers pick? 2 gods that can fight early and fight often and do very well. That early double kill for oBoronic was absolutely massive, but Layers hits a big dunk by Red Buff that transitions into an easy Gold Fury. This was just easy for AstralAuthority. In Revenge, you knew that they were going to pick Poseidon. The Kuang was a little bit of a different look, but did not set himself up very well for success with the build, in my mind.
Thank you.
Just wasn't the right pick, I think, or the right execution of that pick.
Haha, no pun intended there with the execution. But the Kuang, yeah, on paper looked great, but take a look at this build. I mean, it was Telkine's first after the boots, and then Bancroft for some power, and then, what is that, a demo grip after the fact before some penetration. Ryan, you're more the mage guy than I am, so I'll kind of give you the floor here, but I will say that very rarely is there an objectively wrong choice in Smite game, and I think this was objectively a wrong build.
You are never getting off 3 auto attacks. Even with the very quick auto chain that Kuang has, you are never hitting 3 autos on Cyprexa and living, or he's not instantly dying from your initial burst, right? Someone is dying within your first 2 abilities, so why aren't you building for ability power? The Telkines, at least it's got 90 power, still don't like it. It's really the demonic grip that is really egregious in my mind. I mean, it's a low power item. Where's the Soul Reaver? Where's the pen? He didn't even finish off his Obsidian Shard. Even a Shaman's Ring would have been better, though I still don't love it. I don't know. This build was not good.
His mid laner's build, though, singing from my own heart, the Shamans, the anti-heal pen, and the Gem of Isolation, loved what LX Dubs was able to bring out. But Layers of Death is going to be your MVP. 7-0-5 on the jungle Thor. And no concern in this man's face whatsoever, and I don't think there should be. He played out of his mind, had great setup, had great finish, was just a part of a lot of what this team had to do to get the victory. And Layers of Death on the Thor, MVP. Not the first time I've said it, and it won't be the last.
No, and this is definitely a different era for Layers. When he first started coming to LAN as a newer player in Season 3,
oh, that wall.
Everyone was saying, oh, this guy can't really play on LAN, he gets too nervous, all this kind of stuff. This is the natural evolution of things. You know, yes, was he nervous and did he have bad performances at LAN? Of course he did. But now has clearly shown that he's comfortable. First game on LAN for him to look that good, doesn't even need to warm up or anything like that, is just right into an MVP performance, is a really, really good sign for AstralAuthority.
You've heard us talk about Layers of Death having multiple names. Well, he started as Layers of Death, and he had a reputation as being an aggressive kind of guy outside of the game, and the gameplay wasn't there, so he changed it to Chaotic Purpose and reformed himself, as a lot of the players say, and now he's just confident with what he's been able to bring, and he's back to LOD, and he's back to bringing the wins. We're back to